Hello and welcome to another one of these short training sessions, and today we're going to be looking at number replacements on the lines, particularly ISDN lines, and this is a particular use and a particular problem for some of the guys in the UK. So number replacements in trunk profiles is all about replacing the numbers, changing the numbers. We modify the inbound or outbound number presented to or by Swyx. Swyx actually understands three types of numbers, and that's all it can understand. It can understand internal numbers, canonical format numbers, and URIs, and that's it. Every number that Swyx deals with has to be in one of those formats. If it's not one of those formats, Swyx will attempt to translate the number into one of those numbers. So we're going to go through each of the sections, and we'll give you a real-time example of each one. But always remember, when we're talking about ISDN lines, we must always use canonical format in our definitions. So let's start off by looking at the outbound calling party number, or modifying the number we present to the outside world. Now this can be done by an individual Swyx client via the alternative number selection, but this is a user selected option normally. And we're going to look at a way of forcing this to happen for either individuals or groups. So for example, the support department could always present the support telephone number, that may be a non-geographic number, a pay-as-you-go number, or whatever, and the sales department can present a different number. And this is how we do it. So the first thing we need to do is get into number replacement. So if we go into Swyx programming, we need to go into trunk groups, because this is where the profile's at, and we're going to look at the ISDN trunk group. Go to properties and go to profile, and inside the profile we need to go down the bottom here where it says special number replacement and select configure. So the first section we're going to look at is this outbound calling party number, and we want to modify some outbound numbers. Remember, everything we must do is in canonical format. So let's start off with a replacement. So I want to replace my outbound number with the main office number, for example. So my DDI number is +44 1582, an example one, 100105, and I want to replace that with the main office number, which is +44 1582 100100, and there is my number replaced. And I can do as many of these as I want. If I want to do a group of numbers, if they're consecutive numbers, I can actually use a wildcard. So I can put a star in for a wildcard. So if I know everyone in the support department is in this number range, +44 1582 10012 star, so that is 121, 122, 123, etc., etc. And I want them to replace that with +44 1582 100 199. Then everyone in the support group will be presenting that number. So pretty easy to understand, I think, and that's your outbound calling party number. So now let's look at the outbound called party number, and why would we want to change that? This changes the number that we actually dial out to the network, and there are a couple of reasons for doing it. The old-fashioned least-cost routing carrier prefix, where you prefix every number you dial out and then BT hand that caller over to a third party to bill you. A lot of that is not used anymore thanks to a feature called carrier pre-select, CPS. But we can actually use this to override CPS. So for example, if I had my outbound calls going via a particular carrier, and that carrier I was in dispute with, and he put a block on my calls, I could use the BT prefix, which is, I think it's 1280, and use that as a least cost routing code to force the call off of the carrier pre-select and back on to BT. So that's one use for it. So another example would be, as we have here, example 1, the customer has a deal with a particular carrier just for mobile phones, and they will route all mobile phone calls at a greatly reduced cost. And this alternative carrier has an access code of 1234, so we need to modify every outbound call to mobile phones by prefixing it with that number. In practice, the end user will dial a 07 number, and to access this carrier we need to prefix it with 1234. So they need to dial 123407XXXXX. We can program this into the system. So practically, how are we going to do that? Well, go back to our number replacement, and this time we need to look at the outbound called party number. So in this section we add. So for the example we were just looking at, whenever we make a call to an outbound mobile number, that's +44, a UK mobile phone number, always begins with 7 star. And I actually now need to prefix that number with 1234. So I replace +447 with 1234. Now, most UK carriers do work with national number plans and not canonical format, so I don't need to put the 44 back in. I need to put the 07 in because it's a UK national call, and then the rest of the digits dialed with the wild card. That's the 7. And that's how we route all mobile phones to one particular carrier. And if I want to put all my UK calls back through BT, I would go to override my least cost routing stroke carrier pre-select. I would go here and I do +44 star, and then I replace my UK calls. The prefix I have to use is 1280, that's the prefix. +44 is a 0 number in the UK, so 01582, 0203, etc, etc. It's an STD call, all begin with 0, and then everything else is a star. If I want my international calls to go via BT, then it would be +*. Now I need to replace that with 1280. International calls are all +2 digits, and that plus, if I was going to dial it from my keyboard, would be 00 and then star. So that would put all international calls via BT as well as all UK calls via BT, assuming that 1280 is the correct number. And we always go for a closest match, so it doesn't matter that we have a wild card here with +*, the system will look at +447 and find that as a closer match, so it'll do that prefix there. And that's how we configure number replacements for outbound calls. So let's look at now changing the inbound calling party number. This is changing the number that's presented to us from the outside world. And there are a couple of uses for this. This could help us in screen popping customers' records in visual contacts or any other third-party tappy type scenario where we want to screen pop customers' details, but for the customer we have one number on our record and the customer has probably 100 DDIs or something like that. So take this example where we've got this fictitious number in Luton. It's one of our customers. He has a number range of 01582, 100 100 to 100 109. And whenever one of those extensions calls us to report a fault on our fault desk, we'll see their individual DDIs, but we don't log all those DDIs in our system. So we'd like, if any one of those callers ring us, just to see the main number. And this is where we can do number replacement on the inbound calling party number. And so in practice, the number we see from the network is 01582 100 10 whatever, because we've got 10 numbers, and we're going to replace it with 100 100. So let's have a look at that in practice by calling up the inbound calling party number. We need to change this, and in this scenario it was +4415821001. So the customer's number range is +441582100010 star. The star captures all 10 numbers in that range, and we want to replace that with +441582100100. Okay, now when anyone from that company phones us, it will always present the main number, and that's it, simple.